Former Vice President of Nigeria, Atiku has called on President Bola Tinubu to note that the pushback successes the country recorded previously against Boko Haram terrorists are being cancelled. Atiku, who was also the People's Democratic Party (PDP) candidate in the last general elections in Nigeria, stated this on Sunday while reacting to multiple female suicide bombers who detonated bombs at 4 different locations in Borno State on Saturday, killing scores of persons and injuring a lot of persons. Atiku's statement also contradicted the statement of President Bola Tinubu, who had earlier said that the Saturday female suicide bombers incidents are indications that the government is mounting pressure on terrorists and achieving successes in degrading the capacity of the terrorists. Atiku, in a statement issued via his verified social media handles, said, and in quote, "It is a sad development that the ugly incidents of terrorism are resurfacing and, indeed, metastasizing in the northeast. The reported attack by suicide bombers at a wedding reception, funeral procession, and a hospital on Saturday stands condemned. It is unfortunate that much of the pushback that had been achieved against the Boko Haram terror set are being cancelled, owing mainly to the government's lackluster posture to hold firmly on the front line. It is thus important to call on the federal authorities to wake up to their responsibility and to make sure that the Northeast does not slide back into a theater of terrorism and extreme violence. My condolences go to the families of victims of these attacks, and it is my prayer that God grants a peaceful repose to the souls of the departed." We had earlier reported Nigeria President Bola Tinubu has said that the Saturday suicide bomb blast carried out by women in Borno State is an indication that the government is mounting pressure on terrorists and achieving success in degrading their capacity. President Bola Tinubu stated this on Sunday in a statement signed and made available by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngilale. Separate suicide bombers detonated bombs at wedding ceremony and funeral event in Borno State, killing estimated number of 30 persons, with more people still receiving treatment under critical conditions at various hospitals in the state. The suicide bombers were women, with one of them carrying a baby girl who died alongside with her after she detonated the bomb at a busy motor park at Marabati Junction in Gunza, Borno State, killing people instantly and injuring many others. The first bomb blast, as we gathered, occurred around 3 p.m. in the midst of a wedding ceremony. Few minutes later, another bomb blast occurred at General Hospital area in Gunza, and in the midst of sorrow when people in the community gathered for funeral service, another female suicide bomber detonated another bomb. Emergency rescue team said a lady also ran into hospital where rescue victims were taken to, and detonated another bomb. Director General of Borno State Emergency Management Agency, SEMA, Dr. Bakindo Muhammad Saidu, who visited the scene of the incident, said 18 persons died in the bomb blast attacks with 48 persons seriously injured. According to Arise TV News, tears flowed freely on Saturday as suicide bombers attacked funeral and wedding ceremonies in Gunza, Borno State, with reports indicating up to 30 persons have been killed and injuries inflicted on over 100 others, in what seems like a return of suicide bombing in the state, the epicenter of violent Boko Haram attacks. Gunza, located in the southern part of the northeast state, was at the time the emirate headquarters of the insurgents, who at that time killed the traditional ruler of the hilly town. Suicide bombing by the insurgents had stopped until Saturday's incidents, which have fueled fears that the reign of terror might have returned. Confirming the multiple attacks, the Director General of the State Emergency Management Agency, SEMA, Dr. Bakindo Saidu, said, "In my presence, at about exactly 3 p.m., the first bomb in Gunza was detonated by a female suicide bomber in the midst of the marriage ceremony. It affected more than 30 persons with various levels of injuries and instant death." Some minutes later, another blast occurred around General Hospital. Again, at the funeral services, Janeza, another lady rushed into the congregation and detonated another bomb with a lot of casualties. When we were in the hospital coordinating the rescue mission, another one exploded from a female teenager. So far, 18 deaths comprising children, adult males, females, and pregnant women have been recorded. 19 were seriously injured and were conveyed to Maiduguri in 4 ambulances. 23 are waiting for military escort in the Medical Regimental Services (MRS) clinic. I am now coordinating for Chopper tonight. I have mobilized emergency drugs to complement the shortage of drugs in Gunza, he added. According to him, the degree of injuries ranges from abdominal ruptures, skull fractures, to limb fractures. Saidu added that he also received a report that there was a suspected suicide bomber in Puka. In his reaction, the Emir of Gunza, Alhaji Mohammed Shehu Tainta, also confirmed that the attacks were carried out at various locations, including wedding receptions and the burial ceremony in the town. He said, "The entire Gunza Council area is in serious mourning following multiple suicide attacks on our community. The first suicide attack was masterminded by an unidentified woman who sneaked with 2 children into a wedding reception of a popular young man in Gunza. She detonated her improvised explosive devices, i.e. this, killing herself and many people. Few minutes after, another suicide bomber sneaked into a burial ceremony at the nearby and detonated improvised explosive devices. And as I am talking to you now, the third explosion just occurred few minutes ago with more casualties. At least, over 100 people were injured, and most of them who sustained serious injuries have been rushed to Maiduguri with military escort for proper medical attention." This is just a preliminary confirmation, as details of the casualties are still yet unknown, but I will keep you posted on any developments. It is believed that the death toll might have risen to 30 deaths as the coordinated attacks which took place on Saturday afternoon caused pandemonium as people had to scamper for safety. Reliable sources within Goza told journalists that more than 30 innocent civilians were killed with over 100 sustaining various degrees of injuries, even as many of the victims have been evacuated to Maiduguri for medical attention, Arise TV News report ends in quote. According to State House press release, President Bola Tinubu strongly condemns the bomb attacks, which resulted in the loss of precious lives and the maiming of other citizens in Goza local government area of Borno State. President Tinubu describes the attacks as desperate acts of terror and a clear manifestation of the pressure mounted against terrorists and the success achieved in degrading their capacity to launch offensives. The president declares that the purveyors of wanton violence shall have a certain encounter with justice, and that these cowardly attacks are only but an isolated episode as his government will not allow the nation to slither into an era of fear, tears, sorrow, and blood. The president states that his administration is taking necessary measures to secure citizens, emphasizing that efforts will be redoubled to ensure that those who trouble the nation, dispatching precious lives, and disrupting law and order are completely removed. President Tinubu condones with the victims of the attacks, the families of the deceased, as well as the government and people of Borno State. Borno State Police Command had earlier confirmed that 8 people were killed and 15 others sustained various degrees of injuries following a bomb explosion in Goza local government area of Borno State. Police Public Relations Officer of the Borno State Police Command, ASP Nahum Kenneth Dasso stated that the tragic incident occurred on June 29, 2024, at approximately 15:40 hours. A woman carrying a baby detonated an improvised explosive device IED at a busy motor park in Marabati Junction in Goza town. The explosion claimed the lives of the woman, her baby, and 6 others, with 15 individuals who sustained injuries currently receiving treatment at General Hospital Goza, the police stated as reported by NTA News Media.
Satellite Radio, bringing you the news in a more digital way.